Welcome, beautiful souls. Welcome to my channel. For those of you who are regulars, welcome back. For those of you that are just stopping in, my name is Sadhana. I'm a reader, a tarot reader, intuitive reader, reader of many things. And this is a deck that I have been wanting to spend more time with since I received it. Now, I was not part of the Kickstarter funding. I wasn't in on that. Somehow later it came along. I believe I've had it for about a year, and I did a very powerful reading with it last week for one of my clients, and this is just reinforced. There were a few other synchronicities as well too that I want to do a deep dive into this very personal deck. Hello, Ario. Welcome. Did I say my name is Sadhana? If you're new, hi, welcome. So what's going to happen today is I'm going to do a full walkthrough of the deck and show all of the cards, and I will that's pretty much what we'll do today. I want to also share with you the biography that I'm going to be referring to during the deep dive, one that was recommended to me by one of my students as well as YouTube members, and that's Adriana. So it's an amazing book, and I'll share that with you as well too. And I know you want to see the cards. So those of you that don't have this deck, one of the things I do promise is that I will be sharing the cards large. What I can do, if you're not familiar with my channel, is I can really like zoom in on the cards so you can get a really good look at them. And now I am in Canada, but we have better weather now, even though I will be broadcasting in the early evening. We should have nice, good light, so you will be able to see the cards well. So if this is something you're interested in and a topic you're interested in, the deck is just not affordable at this time because it does come out of Australia. I don't even know if it is available right now. I think this is a wonderful conversation to have, regardless whether you have the cards or not. This is a Frida Kahlo deck, if you're not aware, and it is drawn by Gabby Angus-West, creator of the Bone of Fire Tarot, among other decks. The Word of Sarah. Sorry, I don't have that deck. Somebody else could put that deck name into the chat. And I will talk a little bit about the introduction to the deck as well too. This is not a channeled deck. Gabby very humbly describes her interest and motivation and how this deck came to be, among some other things. And so we'll get into all of that once we form the group and start the deep dive, which will be a members only feature. And the reason I'm going to do it that way is because these are very personal subjects. Some of these paintings are extremely personal, and I would love to be able to have you all feel comfortable talking about some of this. So this is the little guidebook that goes with it. This is the bio that I have been reading. This book came out in a hardcover in 1983. Frida, a biography of Frida Kahlo by Hayden Herrera. And I'm really enjoying this book. It has, it references some diaries, personal diaries. There are lots of paintings and photographs and commentaries from friends of the couple, of the families, and I did watch the movie. It's out on Netflix, and the thing about this book is that it is so well researched. And how often do you get a biography that just has so many footnotes and credits and references, resources to the illustrations in the book. So I'm really going to be diving deep into that. I was first, I don't know when I was first sort of fell in love with the artwork of Frida Kahlo. I think it was back in my university days. Oh, thank you for that, Aria. Aria's just put the title of the Oracle deck I was mentioning into the chat. So thank you for that. And I was in university, and there was this little cafe bar that we used to go to regularly, and it just the eclectic nature of the art that was there was truly extraordinary. And I have always been fascinated by this work. Okay. Some of the cards I will share the diary entries, the intentions of the deck creator. And this, like I said, this was not a channel deck. This was a deck that was not only inspired by the life of Frida Kahlo, but also by a synchronicity in that Lady Frieda Harris, who is the artist of the Crowley deck, was painting the pictures, the paintings for the Crowley Tarot around the same time that Frida Kahlo was painting. And they were at that time on different sides of the Atlantic, and did at some point, I believe. I'm not sure of the London history of Frida Kahlo. I will get into that. It's possible, they may have crossed paths. And so there is, I think, more than an interest in the energy and the connections of the Crowley Tarot with this one as well, too. There are an abundances of course, differences. And while it might be, I think she called this deck a, what did she call it? I put it in the title, or I put it in the description box below. What kind of a sandwich did she call this deck? It's funny. Gabby's quite funny, the way she describes these things. Welcome to Tarot Avatara, Frida's own tarot. A Thoth-inspired Frida sandwich or something like that. A Thoth-filled Frida sandwich. That's what this is. While there are references to Waite Smith, there are also some Thoth-inspired things here as well, too. And as an artist, she was very interested in the Golden Dawn color scales. And if you have listened to any of the Thoth blogs by Susie Chang and Mel Meleen, Mel Meleen is the creator of 2 or now 3 tarots or more. And she is one artist who is very particular about color scales. And it might be really interesting to do a side-by-side of some of Mel Meleen's decks with this one, just looking at color. So yeah, so welcome to the Frida Tarot. This there is nudity in this deck. There are some scenes of dismemberment, among other things. And if this is not in your taste, then please don't watch this walkthrough. Okay. So let us begin. Let us begin. There are 79 cards in this deck. There is 1 extra card, and that is the tickled pink card, and I'll show you that once we get through the major arcana. And what I would like to do in the deep dive is to really kind of take apart the way that Gabby has interpreted the symbology through the eyes of her interpretation of the Frida Kahlo story. The colors in this deck are really beautiful, and I'm just looking at the eyes on the High Priestess, quite extraordinary. I would say Gabby has matured, and not in a sort of matured a lot since the bone fire. There's something really very gathered about this deck. And I think part of this process will, this is one of the decks where, so I have a couple of them. I think one is the Alice Tarot, and somebody mentioned another one the other day. Hi, Tamianne. Welcome. Where you could take the deck and put the deck together chronologically. I don't know the deck well enough yet to do that, but that might be something that we could do as a group as well too, and to piece this together. So the Emperor is Diego, Frida's husband, who she married twice, I believe. And I'm just going to get this open in case I feel like reading. So in the guidebook, there is a diary that is written by Gabby Angus-West to build in her understanding, or to share the meaning of the card through Frida Kahlo's experience. And then underneath that, there are meanings and then a list of symbols for each of the cards. And here we see the wedding of Frida and Diego as the Hierophant. So why don't we start here? I'll just read. Maybe I'll read like 5 of them or so. I think that would be fantastic. My goodness. All right. So this is from the Diary of Avatara. From time to time we must move apart, make space for expansion, breathing room for in and out. That nature's abhorrent vacuum may be filled. Diego and I understand this compulsion. We move apart, thread connected, and knowledge folds in. To partake of the plants, to perhaps see the goddess, to open ears to the promise of ideas, we lean away in expansion, and we grow and grow up, and grow in and we grow out. Our fertility makes shoots which climb deep and far, reaching distant countries and strange dimensions, and we drink thirstily at their wells, asking ourselves, making us dependent and wanting, more, teacher, teach us more, connect to us more. We will find you where we care to look, and we care to look everywhere. Feed our greedy, vacuous caverns, fill us up till pictures spill from our eyes. We are drugged and happily not alone or ourselves. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Clevis. And it is a entrancing story. It's a life lived almost at a mythological level. Not almost, at a mythological level. One thing I didn't realize that I learned from the guidebook, which makes total sense because most of Frida Kahlo's paintings were done in bed, were that none of them were much bigger than 12 by 15. And so the details in in her paintings were everything was right there with her, in her presence, on her bed. So interesting that strength is 8 in this deck, and this deck is Thoth inspired. This Hermit card, I absolutely love this card, and I really look forward to exploring some of this symbology and bringing in the other cultural references that are apparent in these cards as well too. I think the choice of the Matryoshka is just brilliant here. I don't think that you will find there's any compromise in this deck as a Waite-Smith deck. So here we do have adjustment as 11, not 8, but retaining the title of adjustment. Yes, I agree with you, Sharon. It is. It's more of a Thoth. So yeah, it's a bit of a Golden Dawn mashup. And that piece that I read from the Hierophant, that was quite powerful. I think about the idea of growing in and out and of one another. I could reflect for hours on this Hanged One card. The Thoth keywords are in the guidebook, not on the cards. And you'll notice that we don't see any astrological signs or Hebrew letters on the cards either. One of the things that was really beautiful in the bio I shared with you at the beginning was just a little paragraph about how death is viewed differently in Mexican culture. And I know it's not just in Mexican culture, but that would have been a very different, I don't even know what to say here. I think what I'll do is I will highlight quotes and try to include those each week as we go through and discuss the deck. And then another thing is to perhaps match up some of Frida Kahlo's artwork with, because most of her artwork, of course, was self-portraits, and see if we can match some of that up with the cards as well too, to deepen understanding. When I look at that moon card and the way that she is positioned on the card, I think of, wow, life just sort of walked over me, because that is a path that is open in this card. It's a path that we see from the water to the land in the distance, and that as well too is she's just one. She's one with the moon. She's one with her femininity. She's one with the darkness of life. And for those of you that have been working with this deck for a while and done readings with it, I really look forward to sharing some ways that the deck has revealed and supported our own personal traumas, journeys. This is quite a card. Shall we read this one? Judgment. And of course, it's not called the Eon. It's Gabby's retained the Golden Dawn name of Judgment. It's quite a long entry. A strange thing, this judgment. A biblical concept, not final, as they say, because for some, much more comes next. Strange how by this term I am judged so favorably and not found to be wanting. Proof of approval paid for by the wealthy. Yet I think and thought only of Diego. I never sought opinion or courted attention. So in death I find fame and fortune. Apparently I bestow wisdom. I embody the feminine. I am a rule breaker and a ground maker. Am I? Judge my story to be tragic. Judge my pain to be unlivable. Judge this life unsurvivable. My career a hobby, a distraction. My politics, my husbands. My independence unsought. My strength merely fear of death. I judge my love to be whole, though we were not faithful. My temper to be bad. My will to be weak. My body too frail to support my existence. And so if I stand here before a God and they know my truth, I might wither beneath their angry glare. Yet as I stand before you and I judge myself mirrored in your eyes, I find greed, envy, possession, admiration, bordering on obsession. What I do not find is your judgment, is me. So where am I? Caught between some God's judgment and yours? Where may I truly be found, between the lines of a wholly held book? In the annals of art history, the truth is in the liminal space, and the truth is my judgment upon myself, and never what you think you know of me. I think also what this might do for some people is to perhaps inspire deeper writing, deeper personal reflection, inspired by some of the cards. And I think in this deep dive, I will take things a little more slowly, looking at the cards, not so much as a tarot deck, but as we will look at it in terms of the tarot, but also I would like to look at it as a deck of managing trauma, facing trauma, grief, perhaps looking where the Thoth Tarot shines, the Crowley Tarot shines, and where the RWS shines through as well. Suit of Wands, Suit of Passion, creativity. And then we can also look at if there are differences in the way this deck, I don't know if works is the right way, but the way the energy of each of the suits shines. Hmm. I have so many ideas. I think creating journal prompts for each of the cards too may be part of my process here. And so there were years where she was mobile and out and about and traveled and loved and partied and played and painted and wasn't in her bed. Look at the bees. Wow. And the clothes, the traditional wear and the long dresses and the choices that she made culturally it's such an inspiration. Wow, what a powerful Knight of Wands. I don't think I've actually had a good look at that card before. And also because the way the court cards are presented in the Thoth Tarot and their relationship um, to each other, the way they point to the four sephira that they come from, as well as their emanations, the worlds that they are in, we can also have a really good look and see how that shines through in this deck. That's a stunning Queen of Wands. And if I had to pick a queen for Frida Kahlo, that this would be the queen. The many faces of Diego. Okay, and I think I will read a little bit from the Ace, 2, and 3 of Cups. Okay, let's go to Ace of Cups. This book also, so another thing that's very interesting, saying that she is Thoth inspired and then not presenting the guidebook in tetragrammaton order is kind of interesting. While she was Thoth inspired, I don't know how much she actually studied the Thoth Tarot. When I paint, I make gifts of love. I pour everything into my art. It is deeply personal, and for inspiration I drink deeply at my ancestral well, where the dove brought the message, the word of God, and gave it to the Indians. All was changed. Some of this grammar is hard to read out loud. Morality, ethics, feelings imbued with a Western civility. My thoughts are that this gift was made from love. The travelers and the missionaries carried this word and offered salvation, bringing a God's love to a place where it was not sought. And yet, we Indians drank greedily at this new mother's milk. On a good day, I am charitable and see the love and feel the intentions were good. Other days, I see the violence, death, and disease. What do I feel about it? Well, now, into his modern world where we can know we have no use for the crutch of fallacious gods, I love it as stories, as vessels for my history, cognitive dissonance, alive, well, and thriving inside me. Love, love, love. It presents itself to me in so many forms, and I am strong on forging these kinds of bonds. My personal power is absolute, and I make partnerships where I find them. We meet upon common ground with common goals. It is natural to share, it is natural to pair. Some partnerships might last a lifetime. Far more fill us till we brim over. Love occupying every crevice of my body and minds, plural, only to rapidly inundate us, to grow flaccid and try to drown us. Still, at times of dryness, when true love is harder to come by, and the champagne tray passes right under your nose and your throat is scratchy, it is very hard not to drink till you are giddy. That cafe I was talking about earlier, I remember there was also Salvador Dali art in that cafe as well too. I think that there is an echo. Sorry, I wish you told me earlier. Is that should be better? You know, even though I've done this, can I say thousands of times, I still make mistakes, so I really appreciate your feedback. Interesting. Look at how this I think she did a really good job with I don't know what do you call it? Like the filter, on this card for the 7 of Cups. Oh, that's a new dog. Wow. That's a lot of responsibility, Sharon. And I think, you know, I do want to make this these deep dives, this series about this story, about this biography, about Gabby's interpretation of it. But I do also want to explore the tarot through this as well too, and the process of tarot, and how there's this conversation, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to do a live after this in my Facebook group. And I keep hearing how important it is for people to see themselves in the tarot, and speaking badly about decks where they don't feel represented. And there's a part of me, and maybe it's because I am blessed and I have had so many decks, that I feel myself in many, many decks. I am of a certain race and a certain age, and I find myself in, like, I can find myself in this deck through the emotion, through aspects of story. I can find myself in a deck such as Dust to Onyx. I can find myself in the Starseeker Tarot, like the Field and Fountain Tarot. I can find myself in, you know, many of the decks that are on my table. And I don't know. So what I was saying here is that in this deep dive, I want to help you find your uh, find your trauma, find your pain, find your darkness, find a way to vulnerably and rawly connect to something that this deck has the potential to heal. And that is possible, of course, with any tarot deck, but this deck can rip you. I think this deck could, if you're ready to go there, you'll find your way to this deep dive. I was going to say rip you open. And that was not, I didn't mean, that's not a, I didn't mean literally. How refreshing. There's no heart here. And I think it's going to be brilliant as well, too, to connect, and I do this with other decks as well, too, but to connect cards from different suits, majors and minors, that seem to be one part of her life and one part of her story. There's probably only 12, 14 cards in this deck that I've really, really had a good look at. So this is also going to be a bit of a process for me. So yeah, these filters on some of these cards really, I think she does a really good job in evoking some of the feelings that you get in the Crowley Tarot. Yes. I was going to make a bathtub comment, but you're right. Gabby does have something about bathtubs. Yes. And of course, it is a symbolic, rich experience, right? Hmm. Hummingbird. That is a really interesting card. Looks more like a uniform. Oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think this is not a deck for the faint of heart. I think there's, sometimes when we are healing, we need a more gentle approach. And I would suggest that this is a deck you could work with once you've really started to explore your let's just call it stuff, okay? Ace of Pentacles. And isn't that interesting too, how, because the other deck I was talking about, the Bonfire Tarot, we have a bonfire, I believe, on each of the major arcana. And I was just thinking about the metaphor of bones. I mean, here we see the pelvis and the leg bones and things like that. That also seems to be a symbol that is important to her. And then there's this part of me that says, I can perhaps pull some of the passion of the Margaret Peterson tarot as well. When I'm looking at the way some of these cards are portrayed, and I know many of you did the Margaret Peterson deep dive with me, that some of those cards I might pull out and contrast and compare the twos for sure. And this is a fascinating card. Oh my goodness. And that is indeed a toilet on top of the left tower, the left pillar. So I think what I will do for this deep dive is to, I know on YouTube I can't necessarily attach it, but I would like to offer a, and I can just put them into the chat, but to offer several journal prompts for each of the cards that we're studying. The Four of Pentacles is when they were living in the US. Oh, okay. I have so many things to share, but they are far too private for a public video. Yeah. That is a really interesting card. The way that we have the 8 paint palettes, but they look like something else. Yeah. I am going to shuffle the deck and just pull a card for reflection once we're done here. So if you want to just hang out, I will do that. How might this deck, and you might want to just write this question down or some variation of it, but how might this deck support my journey of deeper understanding of those patterns and issues that keep repeating themselves decade after decade? Just when I think I'm done with a lesson, somehow it comes back, and I know there's more work to do. And I would suggest that anyone who has work to do with Swadhisthana chakra, sacral chakra, Vishuddhi chakra, solar plexus, I mean, we all do. I don't think this is just a deck for healing the sacred feminine. I've got the marionette here. That's quite something. That's that portrait. And then we have the final two. We have the Queen of Pentacles, which is a very poignant card, but I think it shows a side of richness when she was well. And the King. Yeah. I am brave. I am ready. To explore deeper understanding. And I always remind my clients as well too that the work that we do and our greatest challenges are never about us only. They are often about healing intergenerational wounds that you may be aware of through other family members. This deck shuffles so beautifully. And so for inspiration, for contemplation, I cut the deck and I draw a card. And I might read the diary entry. Ooh. Wow. Okay, let's have a look here. King of Swords. Let me zoom in just a little bit. And I'll just move the card around so you can see up close. Okay, so we have the hummingbirds again. There's a gramophone. Okay. I was thinking King of Cups as I was looking at this card, but okay, King of Swords. Knight, Queen, King of Swords. My husband went crazy today. He drank too much, too early, and slammed out of our home. I followed him to a bar where he drank more and grew louder with each glass. He preached about Marx, argued art and women. He made himself huge. There was no space left in the room, so in an act of wordless protest, I turned up the music to dance, to drown out his ranting and challenge his sighs. He pulled out his pistol and shot away the music. Silence followed, and we all looked around, and I began to pick up the pieces. Like this, he wins no argument, makes no friends, and strikes only fear. Is that how they see me too? We have so much to tell them. But when words become weapons, we must deploy them more carefully. Fear cannot make allies and heroes of men. Is there a word that would be I wonder if there is a regrettable word that we each carry that reflected something for us. Word, voice is very much a part of the journey and the healing between the throat and the sacral chakra. Oh, I'm sure Clevis says, I guess some of her lower chakras were pierced in her accident. I'm sure they were. And Clevis has been studying. Clevis took the first round of tarot through the chakras 1 and 2, and then has come back for this. I'm teaching a course right now. It's still not quite finished recording it. Tarot through the chakras revisited, and it's absolutely fascinating to look at the lessons of the tarot. The lessons of the chakras, the issues and the traumas of the chakras through the tarot. And this is something I'll, of course, share with you as we go through these cards as well too. So yeah, so thank you for being here today, and those of you that are watching the playback, appreciate your comments, your thoughts, your feedback on this deck as well too, especially if you've been working with it for some time. And next week I will prepare a card, and I will try to get that out as soon as possible, so those of you that are doing the deep dive with me can sort of plan ahead as well too. I might start with the Fool. That's just a logical place to start, but I will try to have the thumbnail up a few days before the live stream, and I will broadcast at this time every week until I feel we've done good work with this deck. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sharon. Lovely to have you here. It's been ages. Clevis and Arya, thank you for being here live as well too. And Tammy Ann, namaste to you. And anybody else I missed, thank you. Thank you all for your support. Have a lovely evening. Bye for now.